Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargava, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. In this episode, we talk about Imran Khan's arrest and why the Pakistan army may have taken a wrong call. We also talk about the Indian army and the recent decision to change the uniforms of certain officers. But first, we talk about the Karnataka Assembly elections, which took place yesterday. Now, in the lead up to the results, which will be declared on Saturday, we have been doing stories to help you understand what's at stake in Karnataka. In the previous episodes, we have talked about the biggest concerns on the minds of the voters in the state and how the BJP ran its campaign. But today, we talk about the Congress's campaign and whether it was able to capitalize on the anger that the people have against the ruling government. And for this, my colleague Utsa Sarmin speaks to Indian Express's Manoj CG, who reports on Congress for the paper.
So Manoj, you have been reporting on the Congress's campaign in the state. So could you begin by telling us what stood out to you about it this time?
So after the Lok Sabha elections of 2019, the Congress has managed to win only one state on its own, that is Himachal Pradesh. So in a sense, Karnataka is a very crucial and significant election for the Congress, given that the party has a formidable leadership and a good presence on the ground. It has a decent organizational presence. So from day one, the party was fancying its chances in Karnataka, and the campaign this time primarily was revolving around local issues. So there were two poles actually. One is the anti-incumbency sympathy which the Congress claims it has gauged on the ground, primarily because of issues like price rise, lack of jobs, and the so-called the corruption allegations against the Basavaraja Bommai government. So the main tagline was this 40% commission sarkara. Given that, there were allegations by contractors associations and, some school owners and all in the past about government officials seeking cuts for sanctioning projects. So this 40% commission sarkara was the main line of attack for the Congress.
Right, and using the 40% commission issue did help the Congress a lot, especially because, like you said, it does have a strong presence in the state. So could you talk about that aspect a bit more, about just how strong the party is in the state?
So in terms of presence, in terms of dedicated cadre, in terms of leaders catering to different caste groups, the state Congress president, Mr. D.K. Shivkumar, is from the Vokaliga community. The M.B. Patil, the campaign committee chief, is from the Lingayat community. Siddaramaiah, the former chief minister, he is from a backward community, from the Kuruba community, and he had stitched together this coalition, a social coalition, which is known as the Ahinda. And on top of that, Mallikarjun Kharge, the national president of the Congress party, he is also from Karnataka. He is a Dalit. So unlike in many other states where the Congress faces a real challenge when it comes to electoral politics, here the difference is that they have leaders with years and years of experience who have grown up, risen up the ranks, who have their ears to the ground, and who have a caste backing also. So that is one difference. Plus the organization is, spread across the state. And over the years, the party, even when it lost, it was never wiped out in that sense. Even when the Congress lost, it had managed to get a significant or a sizable number of MLAs. So the situation, it's not similar to say Uttar Pradesh or Tamil Nadu or Bihar or Odisha or any of the other states. The Congress has been in power on and off almost like every 5 years or so. So it's not really difficult for the party to create that kind of a momentum.
Right, and speaking about momentum, we have seen senior leaders like Mallikarjun Kharge, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi extensively campaigning in the state, along with, of course, many of the local leaders. So how effectively would you say they managed to carry out the campaign this time?
Just to give a number, the Congress on a whole, top leaders attended some 220 rallies, and there were some 60 odd road shows and 35 interactions with different sections. And traditionally, at least in the last 3-4 years, what we have seen is that the campaign is driven by the national leadership. So the difference this time was that the national leadership, although all the top leaders were there, but they took a backseat and they let the local leadership drive the campaign from issues, from faces, from the integrity of the social media campaign and all that. So it was a locally state-driven campaign supported by the national leaders. The one difference that stood out was that, like in every state unit of the Congress, Karnataka unit is also, driven by factions. There are leaders with chief ministerial ambitions, which generally this factional feud impacts or hampers the Congress party's prospects in many states. Here the difference was that the party, at least 6 months ago, they accepted that, see, there are strong chief ministerial contenders in Mr. Siddaramaiah, Mr. D.K. Shivkumar, even Dr. Parameshwar. But the one single message that came from the High Command was that, see, you have to work together. If you keep fighting, let the BJP win the elections. And simple, you sit in the opposition. You come together, put a united face and fight the election. Then the leadership will take a call on the chief minister or maybe deputy chief ministers. We can manage all that. But the first thing is that this division, this feud should not come in the way of the party's electoral efforts. So remarkable unity given the kind of divisions in the state Congress. The next thing is the state specific issues on Nandini, if you remember. The party immediately gave it an emotional spin, tried to connect it with the people of Karnataka. And even before the elections were announced, even before the campaign began, if you remember, there were posters put out by the Congress across Bengaluru on saying pay CM. It was an allegation that the chief minister is facing corruption charges. And as I said, this 40% commission charges thrown all around. So the campaign this time was focused on certain issues. There were some deviations, but most of the time the Congress party stuck to its campaign, the main theme of the campaign.
Right, and now coming to the challenges, one thing that went against the party was the Bajrang Dal issue. The party in its manifesto said that it will take decisive action against the Bajrang Dal, and the BJP used it as an opportunity to hit out at the party. So what do the members of the party make of the decision now?
So when we spoke to the members of the Congress Manifesto Committee, the indication that they gave us was that Home Minister Amit Shah, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, during their campaign speeches, they had been hitting out at former Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, accusing him of being soft on PFI, the Popular Front of India. So when the manifesto was being finalized, there was this sentiment that the Congress will have to, put up a counter to that. So one of the ideas was that include PFI in the manifesto, say it in as strongly as possible that the Congress will act against organizations like the PFI. But then how do you not mention some of the organizations, fringe organizations, which are on the other side? Says Bajrang Dal, it has a sizable presence in the coastal areas of Karnataka, and it is allegedly behind some of the violent incidents in Karnataka. So the party tried to do a tightrope walk and balance this issue and putting Bajrang Dal and PFI and saying the law is supreme. So that was a trade-off that the Congress arrived at. Of course, the BJP turned it into an election issue, but the Congress, it seems, was prepared for that. They did an internal survey also, I am told, after the manifesto was released and after Prime Minister Modi turned it into an issue. The survey, according to Congress, we cannot vouch for the authenticity of the survey, and also according to the Congress, there will be some impact, but it would be minor, largely confined to 4-5 constituencies, some 1,500 to 2,000 votes. So overall, it will not have an impact. This inclusion of, naming of Bajrang Dal in the manifesto and the BJP turning it to an election issue will not have a large scale impact on the Congress's electoral prospects. That's the calculation that the Congress made. Because on the ground, the Congress leaders say, issues like price rise or unemployment or this corruption issue, he's having a much more, resonance among the people than Hindutva.
Okay, so as far as the Bajrang Dal issue is concerned, the Congress took a very specific political stand when it comes to the Hindutva politics. But at the same time, they did not mention the hijab ban, for example, which became a huge controversy in the state. So do we know why that was done?
When it comes to the hijab controversy, the Congress had, vociferously attacked the BJP on that issue. Siddaramaiah had taken a position. Some of the central leaders too had taken a position on that. But it was surprising that party could not, put one line in the manifesto saying we will revoke that ban. So when we asked the senior Congress leaders, again, the decision was pragmatic, they would say. Yes, the party had taken a position against hijab, but many of the leaders told us that the issue has largely died down. It doesn't have much resonance even among the Muslim community in Karnataka now. So referring to that in the manifesto would have, rekindled the whole issue and given the BJP a handle to attack the Congress. So, just one Congress leader asked me, imagine we had mentioned the hijab thing in the manifesto. The BJP would have immediately turned it to an election issue and put the Congress in a corner. And it is not an issue on which the party would be winning any new votes. On the other hand, it stands to lose votes. So this realization, you can say double standard, or you can use any other words, but it's kind of it's a practical politics that the Congress this time has tried to play in Karnataka.
Right, and Manoj, in the end, can you tell us what a victory in Karnataka would mean for the Congress party?
It means many things for the Congress. Immediately, this is an election year where the party will have to go for crucial elections in several other states. So it gives that momentum to the Congress. Again, next year, there is a Lok Sabha election coming up. The party can, build on this momentum. Secondly, South India, the only state where the BJP is in power in South India is Karnataka. So it is a BJP Mukt South India, that kind of a, campaign which the Congress can project. And the Bharat Jodo Yatra, Mr. Gandhi has just completed his Bharat Jodo Yatra, and after that, his conviction in a defamation case and his disqualification from parliament. So given all that, this victory would immediately be turned into a kind of response to all those political developments. Then Karnataka is a big state. It has 28 Lok Sabha MPs. As on today, the Congress has only one MP from the state. Given that the Lok Sabha elections are scheduled next year, if the party is in power, it can hope to, improve its tally in Karnataka, which will be, in effect lowering the BJP's tally, because it will be a straight fight, mostly a straight fight between Congress and the BJP. And then adding to the opposition kitty, the opposition is now in talks to, put up a united front against the BJP. Now the Congress will have bragging rights because the party is in power only in a handful of states now, and it has been losing elections very frequently. So it will now have something to, tell the other opposition parties, see, the Congress is not, you cannot write off the Congress party. See, we are bouncing back. So that bragging rights the Congress will get. And then overall, it adds one more state to the opposition kitty when it comes to the GST Council, or when it comes to key legislations, a constitutional amendment which needs the support of half the states for its passage. And also all those issues also, it matters if one more state goes to the opposition.
And next we talk about Imran Khan. On Tuesday, the former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan was arrested by authorities in Islamabad. This arrest comes more than a year after he was ousted from the government after falling out of favor with the Pakistan Army, which had played a major role in getting him elected back in 2018. It is also important to note that after being ousted, his popularity amongst his followers rose exponentially, who believe that he is being persecuted. And it is these followers who are now protesting across various military locations in the country. Some of these protesters were even seen shaking one of the gates of the general headquarters of the Pakistan Army, and according to some visuals, were also able to enter the area. In this segment, we speak to Indian Express's National Editor of Strategic Affairs, Nirupama Subramaniun, about this development. Nirupama, so first tell us on what basis, on what charges have the authorities arrested Imran Khan?
So they have arrested him in a case to do with a money laundering charge against a real estate tycoon. And the case, I think, is that he benefited from arranging a deal between that real estate tycoon and the British authorities who were investigating him at that time, and his government brokered that deal, and in return he got lots of money, billions of rupees and lots of land from that particular real estate tycoon. He and his wife, and there is a trust in which they play a role called the Al-Qadr Trust. And so this is the case. But you see, this is not about one case or two cases or anything. There are, in fact, more than 100 cases. I think 140 is the number I have been reading in the Pakistani media. 140 cases against him.
Right, and we understand that these cases are for a whole bunch of things, right? Including profiting from the sale of state gifts and even things like murder. But when did the authorities start filing these cases against him?
So it began, I think, around the time that the government realized that he is becoming uncontrollable in a sense in terms of all the stuff that he says in order to mobilize the crowd, his slurs against the army. So the initial cases were registered weeks after his ouster, when he was alleged to have tried to incite a mutiny in the army or in the security forces, across the security forces. But the bottom line I was saying, Shashank, is that neither the government nor the army wanted him to contest the election because they realized that this guy is, as you said, exponentially popular. He is going to win this election. and he cannot be allowed to come back to power. The whole idea is to disqualify him from running for office.
Right, so the idea is to get him convicted, and that will keep him out of power.
Yeah, get him convicted, and then he can't, going by the rules, he cannot contest election for a period of time. And then we have seen in previous cases, the judges can also pronounce that you're disqualified for life, as they did in the case of Nawaz Sharif. He cannot hold an elected office at any point. So, this is the cleanest way, I guess, to get him out of an election, out of political life. Why is this important? Because for the army, I think it became a big threat that he is able to rally people to his cause. Okay, let us be very clear that his cause is not what you'd call democratic in the real sense. He is angry with the army because the army did not help him stay on in power. Now, what he's trying to convey to the army is that when I come back, I will put my own guys in the army, and I will ensure that you all follow the line that I set for you. You will support my government. I want your support. And when I come back with this huge majority, you will have no choice but to do that. He wants the support of the army. He wants the backing of the army. That he is very clear.
Okay, so even though to his followers, he's saying that he's being persecuted, it's not like he's rallying for some idealistic democratic cause. It's just that he wants to come back to power again.
Yeah, I don't think he has a plan beyond, I want to become prime minister again. I don't think there is a real economic plan for recovery. I don't think there's a real foreign policy. And I think we have discussed this in earlier podcasts about how Imran Khan had actually alienated many of Pakistan's big friends, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, China even. Because Imran Khan then said, the CPEC is causing a big drain on the Pakistani economy, and I'm going to stop this and stop that and change this and change that. Chinese were not very happy. And also America, in his last few months in office, Imran Khan alienated the US. This whole no confidence vote against me is a conspiracy hatched in the US by the Biden administration, hand in glove with the opposition and with the army. And he quoted some diplomatic conversations, which of course the US denied. And then he did the other thing of actually traveling to Russia on the day the war broke out. And he was photographed with Putin, which also then set the backs up of the Europeans who actually told him, who actually appealed to Imran Khan that, look, you can't do this. And he lashed out at them at that point. So I think there is a feeling institutionally that this guy is a disruptor, and the Pakistan army, its first instinct will be to protect its own interests, It calls itself an institution, and it wants to protect its institutional preeminence or predominance.
And Nirupama, you earlier said that Imran actually wants the approval of the army. So could you give some more context to our listeners about this? Because the army, we know, plays a very important role in the governing of Pakistan.
Yeah, Imran is a child of the establishment. So he owes his career, in a sense, to the army. And in Pakistan, I think most politicians recognize that you need to have the army by your side when you are in power. I mean, if you look at the Shahbaz Sharif government now, they have made it very plain that they are on the side of the army. They are actually hoping that when an election is held and if they need help, the army will help them into power. Because at this point, they seem to be Shahbaz Sharif, the Sharif family. Shahbaz is Nawaz Sharif's younger brother. The Sharif family is seen as a less of a disruptor than Imran Khan. So you see, it's all relative if you look at it over the last 30 years. And therefore, Imran Khan does feel that he needs to work with the army by his side. He feels that if given the right chief, he and the army would probably make a great pair. But right now, he doesn't have the chief that he wants.
Right, the army clearly wants him out, and they of course don't want people supporting him. But this arrest has had the opposite effect. So many of his protesters have come out to protest the move. So does it seem like they might have taken the wrong call here?
Arresting a politician, a popular politician, is always going to be a wrong call. and the manner in which he was arrested, all that leaves a very bad taste in the mouth. This is not how you treat this is not how you treat a politician. I mean, we've seen that in India also, the way Karunanidhi was arrested in the middle of the night, and the way Jayalalitha was arrested. So all this leaves a certain bad taste in the mouth, and especially in Pakistan, which has had a history of prime ministers or former prime ministers being arrested. Benazir Bhutto has been arrested, Nawaz Sharif has been arrested, and now Imran Khan has been arrested. So there was an element of ham-handedness, if you can call it that, about the arrest. So many rangers kicking down a door in the Islamabad High Court where he was providing some biometric details with regard to this particular case, which is now called the Al-Qadr case, and surrounding him, taking him out as if he's a high-value terrorist. All this is not in keeping with how you treat a person who has a huge following, who has been elected to office, he's your former prime minister. And B, finally, it's not terrorism. He's not been accused of terrorism. So all this is not a great idea. So I think the arrest itself is, of course, a very bad decision because it has proved that he is popular, that people will come out on the streets to protest. And of course, secondly, the ham-handed way in which they carried out the arrest.
And we talked about how Imran would like the army on his side. But does the Pakistan army want the public on its side? Is that important to the Pakistani army?
Yeah, this is a very serious thing. This question you asked is very important because finally the army's predominance in Pakistan all these years is because when it comes to the bottom line, Pakistanis love the Pakistan army. And they may have a problem with the chief. They may have a problem with Musharraf, for instance, or with Bajwa, or with maybe now with Munir. But I think they love the army, which is why the army now, already some people are saying that that compact between the army and the people has been broken. And the army would be very, very hesitant to take any action that requires them to quell the protests by the use of force. One of the important things here that I'd like to say is you'll see that there are no leaders of the PTI in the forefront of these protests. You won't see a Shah Mahmood Qureshi, you won't see a Asad Omar, or you won't see a Fawad Chaudhry. They are not leading these attacks against the army symbols.
And just a quick note for our listeners, PTI or Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf is the name of Imran Khan's party.
Yeah. In fact, at some point, I think there's a footage of a guy saying something against the army, and there is a mid-ranking PTI leader who kind of just takes himself away from that. He put some distance between himself and that crowd of people. Very quickly, he realized that. I'd also like to say that, now having taken this step, although the army may have bitten off a little more than it intended to, I think having taken this step, it cannot really be seen as backing down. I don't think General Asim Munir can be seen as backing down because then that would do no good for his leadership of the army. And secondly, I think institutionally also, it may set a precedent that the army as an institution may be hesitant to set. So we have to see how it unfolds. If you want my opinion very quickly, I think that Imran Khan is going to spend a little time in jail and he might well be disqualified.
And in the end, we talk about a change in the Indian Army's uniform. The Army recently decided that all officers of the rank of brigadier and above will wear a common uniform starting the 1st of August this year. Now, this is a major change from the long-standing tradition where different officers wear different uniforms based on their ranks, regiments, and sections of the army. To know more about this, my colleague Anwiti Singh speaks to Indian Express's Amrita Nayak Dutta.
Amrita, based on this latest decision, what changes are we going to see in the Army's uniform now?
So, Anwiti, the Army senior leadership, which is all officers of the rank of brigadier and above, will wear a common uniform from 1st August this year, irrespective of whatever their parent cadre and appointment is. So, that is a major moot point. The latest change, it will entail that all headgears, shoulder rank badges, georgette patches, which are worn on the collars, belts and shoes of all senior officers of flag rank as in the brigadier and above, it will now be standardized and it will be common. Currently, they also wear the lanyard and the pouch belt, and the officers will henceforth not wear those as well. And the common uniform, the standardized uniform, that will have dark olive green beret, single piece belt with the Indian Army insignia on the buckle, brass rank badges without backing. And the officers are also likely to wear a black pea cap as part of their ceremonial dress instead of hats donned by officers of certain regiments.
And could you talk about how the uniforms differ from one another right now, based on the different ranks of the officers?
So, for example, officers of the parachute regiment, they wore a maroon beret, while those from the infantry, they wore a green beret. Officers from armored corps, they wore a black beret, while all combat support arms and services, they wore blue beret. Then all the rifle regiments like Gorkha rifles and Rajputana rifles, they always wore black rank badges and buttons, while others wore the brass colored rank badges and buttons. So even the belts are also different. For example, somebody from a Kumaon regiment will have the specific insignia of the regiment that they're belonging to. So it all varies from officer to officer. So that is the current thing right now. But henceforth, as in from 1st August, all of them will be having this common uniform.
And what are the ranks for whom this change will apply and for whom things will remain as they are?
So this change is for the senior leadership who are of the rank of brigadier and above. Officers in the rank of colonel or below, this change will not be implemented for them. Because usually colonels and lieutenant colonels, they are posted in field locations where they are regularly interacting with the troops of their unit, of their regiment. And this gives them a distinct identity within the arms and services. And this also helps to strengthen the bonding with the troops. And, it also, regimental ethos, which is the bedrock of soldiering. So this sort of helps them with that. Having certain symbols, having certain accoutrements in the uniform, that sort of helps them to create a bonding with the troops on ground. It creates a feeling that we are from the same regiment. So that's the reason why officers of the rank colonels and below, this change will not be for them.
Right. So what is the reason that the army has now done away with this practice and has implemented this rule where there will be a common uniform for those in senior ranks?
So the general view is that the move is aimed at ensuring that all senior officers drop the regiment baggage and think pan-army instead. And some officers also felt that there has been a perceived discrimination between different arms and services, and a common uniform will kind of bring in a feeling of equality among all officers. So that is the general reason why this was done. And the decision was taken in the recently concluded Army Commanders Conference, which was held last month. And this change has been in the offing for a very long time. And it has been discussed in the previous Army Commanders Conference also. But it could not be done because there was a difference in opinion on whether the beret should be blue or black. So there was a difference in opinion. While the senior officers had agreed on all other points, there was a difference on this particular thing. And hence this was not implemented last time, but this time there was a general consensus on what should be done.
You were listening to Three Things by The Indian Express. Today's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by Anwiti Singh, Utsa, Sarmin and me, Shashank Bhargava. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcast@indianexpress.com.